One of the biggest advantages of the Pixel robot is its size. But rather than showing you how small it is in the studio, I wanted to show what that actually means in a real production. Now, for this shoot, pretty much the entire motion control setup traveled on a single production cart. We had the Pixel robot, camera, lens, monitors, and the robot tripod all loaded onto the cart, along with the equipment that we needed to get up and running. Now, once everything was packed, I simply wheeled the whole setup straight into the van, and when we arrived on location, it was exactly the same process in reverse. The cart came straight out of the van and into the building. Now, that might sound like a small detail, but when you're working on location, anything that reduces the number of trips back to the van and pieces of equipment that you have to carry around makes a massive difference. So once we were in the studio, the setup was really straightforward. The robot came off the cart and it went straight onto the tripod. We mounted the camera, connected everything up, and we were pretty much ready to start programming the moves. And in this case, the tripod was also really useful because we could quickly adjust the working height of the entire robot depending on the shot that we were trying to achieve. And on this particular production, space was quite limited, and that's where the Pixel really came into its own. Now, a larger cinema robot would have taken up a significant amount of the available shooting space, whereas Pixel's small footprint meant that we can position it closely to the set without completely taking over the studio. Of course, a smaller robot also means that you have a smaller working envelope. So the reach is smaller, obviously, and the payload as well. One of the ways that we worked around that was by using our motion control turntable in sync with the robot. So instead of asking the robot to do all of the movement, we can rotate the model whilst Pixel handled the camera movements. Now, combining the two systems gives you considerably more creative flexibility, and effectively it helps to extend what you can achieve with a smaller arm. And although the physical robot is compact, we're still controlling it through LensMaster, which means you've got the same sort of motion control tools and programming features that we'd normally use with a much larger robot system. So you're really not giving up the motion control workflow just because you're using a smaller piece of hardware. Now, there were a couple of challenges during the shoot. We had a few points where we noticed some slight jitter in certain moves, and smaller robots are inherently more susceptible to vibration than larger, heavier systems, particularly when you're making faster moves or you're positioning the camera further away from the center of the robot. But that is part of working with any piece of motion control equipment. And we pretty much got around it by making a few adjustments to the program moves, change the way that the robot approached certain positions, and we were able to get the shots working nicely. And then it was time to wrap and pack it all away. So we got the camera off, robot off the tripod, everything back into the production cart, and we're ready to wheel the complete setup back out of the studio. For smaller sets, tighter locations, or productions where bringing in a full-size cinema robot simply doesn't make sense, Pixel fills a really interesting gap for me. It's compact, quick to deploy, and easy to transport, and at the same time giving you access to a proper motion control workflow. And for this particular shoot, being able to roll almost the entire system into the studio on one cart made the whole production considerably easier. Now, in my personal opinion, who do I feel like this robot is for? This robot could be for content creators. It could be for people just getting into the industry. As a matter of fact, it could be for seasoned motion control professionals who either, they can fulfill some of the smaller budget productions, or even the fact that you can mount this robot anyway. So there is some very unique use cases that you would never get a bigger robot on, and this can definitely fill that gap. And that is pretty much it for this video, guys. So if you got any questions about LensMaster, about the Pixel, let me know in the comments below or hit me up over on Instagram. Catch you on the next one. Peace.